On our recent trip to Milan, Italy, there were two things that we wanted to make sure that we saw. We wanted to see the Last Supper, and then we wanted to see the Duomo. Now, the Duomo, of course, is a Europe ABC, Another Bloody Cathedral. But we wanted to see it just the same. After seeing the Last Supper, we decided to walk to the Duomo. As we did, we walked past the Milan Stock Exchange, and I guess you can make your own assumptions about the decor. We latched onto a tour guide that was going in the Duomo, and it turned out to be well worth it. Now, the Duomo was started in 1386 and completed finally in 1965. Yep, you heard that right. The first thing we heard about was something really interesting. Back in the day, the illiteracy rate was about 97%, so the church elders decided that if they can't teach everyone to read, they can at least teach them the story of the Bible through pictures on the stained glass window. Now, this was a radical idea, teaching those common people, and the people themselves felt the same way. Nevertheless, they started out with Genesis in the first window and worked their way upwards and through. It was unclear how effective that this effort was, but it was certainly revolutionary at the time. Now, poor St. Bartholomew here may be the most interesting sculpture you'll ever see. Now, he was a martyr. He was skinned alive by the pagans. Anyway, the artist, de Grate, chose to show him completely without skin. And when you look, you can see the detail from head to toe. Now, how the artist sometimes learned such detail was to pay some unscrupulous character to dig up a freshly buried body so they could dismember and study it themselves. It's unclear, by the way, if de Grate was one of those. The penalties were really severe if they were caught. Wherever this guy got his training, it was good. The detail was incredible. And if you look how he chose to sculpt him, that's not a cloak he's carrying over his shoulder. That is his entire body of skin. And here in the back, you can see his head, his beard, and his face hanging there. By the way, this idea wasn't new. Michelangelo, in the Last Judgment, which is the wall of the Sistine Chapel, had the same idea, nowhere near the detail. Another thing they showed us is that they're cleaning the soot and grime off the ceiling, walls, and pillars from the hundreds and hundreds of years from the torches they used for lighting. You can see the comparison here, the clean marble versus the still dirty marble. They're being very careful and efficient with the cleaning method. They're using baking soda sprayed at a very low power so they don't have any damage to the marble. They're also doing smaller sections, that way the rest of the cathedral can stay open for visitors. Thanks, Milan. Now, they said they'd completed about 30% of the marble, and it's taken them 30 years to do so. Since I'm an accountant, I can do the math, and it's going to take another 70 years to actually finish. Just so you know, I'm planning on seeing it when it's done. So that'll make me the retired guy that's lived through the 60s 3 times and still having fun. Anybody who wants to meet me at the Duomo in 2095, let me know. Anyway, those are some of the highlights of Milan. Now it's off to Cinque Terre.